Brian, good to see you again. Thanks for coming back today.
Good to be here.
Well, after all the things that we've spoken about, one of the things you briefly discussed a little bit was life insurance for seniors.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you who haven't tuned in for the other sessions, this is Brian Solik. He is a wealth of knowledge. And tell him a little bit about yourself, Brian.
Well, quick background. I worked for Merrill Lynch for 9 years, 2000, 2009, up in New Jersey, and then went independent after that, with the big focus on protecting people's assets from things like the IRS taxation and nursing homes and stock market volatility and so forth. Family of 5 children. Wife been married almost 35 years in November. And so we're thankful to the Lord for his blessings, and good to be down here in the Wake Forest area.
Oh, wow. Well, please tune in for the others that we have on our YouTube channel if you haven't already seen them. But today, let's talk a little bit about seniors who are concerned about their income and protection of assets and life insurance. And why do I want life insurance? Because I've actually given mine up, except for what my company covers.
Sure. So that's the question. Why would a senior want life insurance in retirement? Typical Wall Street advice is you only need it during the earning years, particularly if you're married as a family, have a family, and so forth. Why would you want it later? That's typical Wall Street advice. And the idea is, well, you have plenty of assets when you retire, you don't need it then. Well, I've been helping people for 20 years, and you come across all sorts of situations where you take a look and say, well, it actually makes some sense for a lot of people to consider having life insurance. And if you can get it when you're younger, great. But even as a senior in your 60s or 70s, I've helped a lot of folks in situations that made a lot of sense. So I'm going to walk through that, okay? 2 sessions. The first session we're doing right now is focused on seniors who are more concerned about their own lifetime, their own income, protecting their own assets. Second session is going to be those who are like, well, I'm good, my income's fine, I want to leave maximizing money left to my kids or other heirs. So 2 different sessions. So the first session we're doing right now, again, seniors who are concerned about income and protection of assets for themselves. So let's look at potential problem number 1. Loss of Social Security and or pension income if you're married, okay? So take a typical situation. Let's say husband's earning about $2,000 a month Social Security, and his wife, let's say in this case, maybe she did not work outside the home, and she's getting half of his by IRS rules. So she's getting $1,000 a month. So what happens when he passes away, which statistically speaking, typically the men do? Well, she gets his higher Social Security amount of $2,000 a month, but she loses what? Her $1,000 a month. So Jenny, I'm sure you've met a lot of people that $1,000 a month less income makes a big impact on them, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Now think about the possibility. Let's say husband retires at 66. Who knows? Let's say he passed away at 68 or 70, and his wife lived another 20 years. Okay, $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year, times 20 years. That's $240,000 of income not coming into the household. And for a lot of folks out there, it makes a huge impact. Sometimes a spouse will have a pension, and the pension doesn't have full survivorship. So the spouse might get 75, 50% of it, maybe even 0%, and all of a sudden you got another huge issue, okay? And people may have planned to have more assets when they retire, but life happens, right?
Right.
Sometimes the stock market can take that away. Sometimes they're helping out children and so on and so forth. And all of a sudden they wish they had a life insurance that lasted. The kind of life insurance we're talking about here is permanent, meaning it goes to the day you die, as opposed to term, which a lot of people have, which is good for different reasons, but it ends at a certain point. So a lot of retirees might have had life insurance through their work. They retired and it went away, or they bought their own term policy, and they said, well, I'm going to have this stop when I'm 66 and retire because I don't need it anymore. And the term policy goes away. So sometimes they may have gone from $300,000 to $500,000 of life insurance to 0 overnight when they retire. So that's one issue right there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I'm sitting here proof of it.
Okay. Now, here's potential problem number 2. Future tax increases which decrease your income. So we talked about in previous sessions how taxes could very easily go up in the future. In fact, they're scheduled to go up in 2026. And Congress could easily raise them more, depends on who's in office. Right now, we're doing this in 2020. Congress is spending trillions of dollars for the COVID-19 crisis. They just gave us a couple more $1 trillion reasons why they're probably going to raise taxes in the future. So how does that affect people? Well, if all your income is taxable, meaning your Social Security, your pension money is taxable, money coming out of IRAs, 401ks is taxable, money in a taxable account is taxable, and you have little to none in tax-free, well, guess what? Your income's going down when taxes go up.
Right.
And that could be a huge problem. And if they go up and stay up, you might find someone in 20, 30 more years living in their 90s paying much higher taxes than they thought. So what's one of the solutions? Having more money in tax-free accounts. There's only two ways to do that. We've mentioned in other videos. A Roth IRA, which has some value.
Yeah.
And the other one is the life insurance, which some people call a Roth on steroids, because it gives you the same tax advantages for cash for someone for their lifetime, as far as being able to have that and not pay taxes on it when you pull it out. But it also has the other benefits, such as the tax-free death benefit, which we just mentioned, particularly if you have a spouse.
For inheritance or, yeah.
Okay. And it also has the next part we're going to talk about, a long-term care benefit. Okay. But this problem number two we're talking about is your own income. Let's just say someone's single. Jenny, you're single, other people are single, and they don't care so much what's left for the heirs. They don't care so much about Social Security, a loss of income if they're a couple because they're single. They're just worried about my life. Well, they have to be concerned about, is all of this going to be hurt if taxes go up, my income and so forth. So that's a potential solution. For anything with life insurance, it depends on a person's age and their health and other factors. It's not a one-size-fits-all at all. But people should really take a look at that, consider that. It could be a potential way to solve some issues there. Now, problem number three, long-term care health issues on a lot of people's minds, and rightly so, because a huge segment of our population has either experienced that or knows someone they have, and they're concerned. And without giving a long explanation of long-term care insurance, okay, one of the negatives about a typical long-term care insurance policy is you could pay into it, die of a heart attack or a car crash, and guess what? You receive no benefit,
Right.
and all those premiums were kept by who?
By the insurance?
The insurance company. Now, I'm not saying it's never right to have one of those. However, in the last 10, 15 years or so, insurance companies have taken a different approach with kind of a different way of providing for long-term care, and they've combined it with a typical permanent life insurance policy, which has the other benefits we already mentioned. Tax-free death benefit. So if you die of a heart attack and you have one of these, what happens? My heirs get a tax-free death benefit. Oh, wasn't a wasted type of thing. If I'm alive and need income and I want tax-free income, I can pull it out of these permanent life policies. If I get sick, I can use a large portion of the death benefit. In some cases, 100% of the death benefit. The death benefit is usually much higher than the cash you put in. So now I get a huge, potentially long-term care benefit for my own needs, okay? Whether to protect assets for heirs, or you may just want to have the flexibility instead of being at the mercy of the state. I mean, I have no money, and I'm going to go where the state says I'm going to go because I have no choice in the matter. Now you're preserving some of your dignity and having that available. Say, I've got some extra money here. I can make some of my own choices of how to pay for this or where to go and so on and so forth.
Going to that, what you just said about the long-term care policy, is it too expensive for people? I mean, can I afford it?
Good question.
Yeah.
Good question. So, again, it's not for everybody. Some people can qualify for it, some people can't. As far as age, interesting enough, I've had folks in their mid-70s, late 70s, it made sense for them once we did the math. Here's why, okay? People are used to, if you're used to paying for term life insurance, dirt cheap, and it's got a good value for having term life. There's a real purpose and a reason for it, okay? When you're using permanent, it's an investment because it always pays out. Meaning when you die, it'll pay out to heirs, or when you're alive, you can use it, or if you're sick, you can use it. So it's not like automobile insurance where I'm just paying through the nose and I never use it. Here, it's an investment that you always utilize. So for instance, people put a ton of money into 401k plans. Why? Well, I'm going to pull it out later and have use of it. You can put money into these life policies and pull it out later to use it. So anyways, so it's more expensive, much more than a term policy. But a term policy, again, you may not get any value from it. You're going to get value from it. As far as age and health, it really depends on the situation, whether it makes sense or not. I would say this also, you've got a ton of people out there, it's all public records. Some of the most successful people financially in our country, CEOs of companies and so forth, it's all documented, public records, have millions of dollars in these kind of policies. So right off the bat, that should give us
A hint.
Go, maybe that's worth looking into for the average person, even if some people don't like it. I'll give you an example. There's some people on the radio and who write books and so forth that hate this whole strategy. Okay, just like anything else you Google, you're going to find positive, negative, different opinions on it. But again, some of the richest, smartest people in our country have millions of dollars. It may be worth for some people to say, maybe that makes sense for me also.
This is fairly a new strategy, though, isn't it?
You know, it's actually not.
Really? Because
Okay.
I hear more about it now than I used
Well,
to.
you mean for long-term care?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Well,
Yeah.
for long-term care in the last maybe 10, 15 years or so
Yeah.
is when this began to be developed. And yes, that's the old way was the regular long-term care policy. Those are still there, but they're not as popular. And this, it's called a hybrid life insurance policy. Why? Because it has a death benefit, cash, and long-term care attached on. Now, here's the thing I didn't mention. Normally, it's attached on for no extra fee or a minimal administrative fee. Here's how the companies can do that. Let's say, Jenny, you had a permanent life policy, and you're paying into that's going to pay $100,000 to the day when the day you die. No matter how long you live, it's going to pay that out. Well, the company already knows they're on the hook for that $100,000, aren't they? They're going to pay that out. It's set aside. So it's no big deal to them if you get sick and you qualify under long-term care insurance guidelines. For those of you familiar with activities of daily living, you can't do 2 out of 6 and get a doctor's note and it's been 3 months, the standard guidelines. That's not a big deal to insurance companies to give you that money ahead of time before you die. So that's how they can attach it on for a little to no fee, because it seems almost like too good to be true to have that attached on there to my regular life policy. But years ago, it wasn't available. People have older life policies. It just wasn't available. So now it is available.
Wow. Another thing we need to talk about. Sounds like something I need to look into.
So we're going to look at the next section. People who life insurance might make sense for if their main goal is, I just want to maximize money left to my kids. I'm all set with everything else. How life insurance might play into that.
Well, thank you again. Y'all tune in for number 2